Hi guys, Steve Good here with the Scrollsaw Workshop. Been a while since I've done a video, and I have a product tonight that I want to do a little review for you. And this particular product is from BigFoot Products. And if you followed my blog for very long, you know I've reviewed a couple of his products. And David over at BigFoot was good enough to send me his latest product. And that particular product happens to be called the Press and Grip. Now, this basically is a clamp, but it's kind of a unique clamp, and it seems to work pretty well for cutting compound cut scroll saw patterns. So I thought I'd review it and show you what I did with it. Here is the Press and Grip, and quite simply, it's a wooden frame with two dowels that have these super heavy-duty springs on them. And what it allows you to do is pull this back and place your compound cut block of wood in between, and then use it at your scroll saw to cut out that compound cut. I'm going to do a project, and I'll post the pattern for this on the web also, so you can use it. But one thing that you'll need after you buy the Press and Grip is a couple of extra spacers. And in this case, what I did is I took some 3/4 inch MDF, and I glued sandpaper to it to give me a nice rough surface to help hold the piece in. Now, this particular piece of wood that I'm going to be cutting this compound cut out of is just a simple construction grade 2x4 that I cut down to 1.5 inches deep and 1.5 inches wide, 4 inches long. What you do to use this as a compound cut jig is you take your spacers, and with the sandpaper touching the wooden block that you're going to be cutting, go ahead and sandwich them in there. And if you look down here at this crossbar, the way to put these pieces in this clamp is to pull this crossbar back and then set the piece up over the spacers. And it looks like this when you get done. And I'll show you here in a minute the way I put this on here. It's a little bit difficult because your fingers want to get pinched right here, but after using it for a while, I came up with an easier method for putting it on. Okay, now I've got the jig and the compound cut piece over at the scroll saw. You can see I've obviously already cut my interior, or drilled my interior holes, and I'm ready to start cutting. The number one thing that you look for in a compound cut jig is that it holds very secure with no movement of your pieces. And when I first received this, I really didn't think that there was much of a chance that these springs could hold enough pressure to clamp this piece in here without it moving. If you've done any compound cutting, you know that a 1.5 inch thick piece of wood, even in this construction grade 2x4, which is pretty soft, is pretty difficult to cut, and sometimes you have to apply quite a bit of pressure to get the blade through the wood. What I found, however, though, is once I put these spacers in here with the sandpaper glued to the edges, the Press and Grip actually holds very well. I had no slippage at all when I cut this piece out right here. I did have a little bit of slippage before I added the sandpaper to these blocks on an earlier test piece I cut, but after adding the sandpaper, it worked perfectly. Okay, I've finished cutting out the first side of the compound cut, and I'm going to go ahead and flip it over, and you can see I've just removed the jig, flipped the block over, and now I'm going to show you how I go ahead and put this on here to make it easier. Now in this case I'm using one hand to hold the camera, but normally you would have both hands gripping the cross member right here, pulling it back, and because it's hard to get it all the way down, I found out that you don't have to. Go ahead and stop with the wood down here. In other words, the jig is still not touching the table. At that point you can let go, then take the palm of your hand and push the jig down over the block of wood until it touches the table. And then you have a nice flat surface that you can cut from. Here I'm going ahead and finish cutting the second side of the compound cut. I finished with all the interior cuts, and I have the jig and the block back over at my drill press, or back over at my workbench. I removed the jig and took off all the paper and tape, and you can see we have a nice little Love You compound cut pattern. Okay, back to the press and grip, which is the original intent of this. The press and grip, according to the web page, is ideal for 3D patterns like we just did, stacked patterns, small items, glued parts. I didn't use it for any of those other features. I could see it coming in pretty handy for gluing up bowls on the Scrollsaw, but I didn't test it for any of those things, so I can't really attest to how much use you'll have. But as a 3D or a compound cut clamp, I would say it worked very well. I was pretty pleased with it. The product sells for, get over here to the order page. The product sells for $29.95. Let's see what the shipping is. I'll let you go over to his website and check out all the details on it. $29.95 if you're the type of person that's not real interested in building your own clamps and tools for cutting out compound cut patterns. I would say the press and grip is an excellent buy at a reasonable price. So I would go ahead and give it a try, and I think you'll like it. Let's read a couple of the things here on the website. Unique quick load clamping system, custom made super torque dual springs, and I will attest that those springs are tight. Auto lock compression, low profile, solid wood, 1 1/4 inch frame. Let's see, accepts up to 5 3/4 inch length and 3 1/2 inch width. Simply use spacer block for small parts, which is what you saw me do in the pictures that we just showed. Excellent for holding 3D Scrollsaw patterns, and I do agree to that. It does just exactly what it says it'll do. Okay, that's the press and grip. I want to say thank you to David for allowing me to review this product, and also sorry to David for being so slow in getting the review done. I've had a lot going on here in the last couple months and haven't been able to get out into the shop to do some of these things I've been wanting to do. So that's the press and grip. You can see the press and grip at bigfootproducts.ca, and I'll post a link below the YouTube video and also in the blog post. I'm Steve Good. Hope you like this video, and we'll see you next time here at the Scrollsaw Workshop.